Hi, good morning,
Morning,
Bhavesh. How are
morning,
you?
Janet. Good, good,
Hi.
good. Good.
Yeah. So how have you been,
Yeah,
Bhavesh?
thanks, Janet. Good, very good.
Very good. Before we went live, we were chatting actually about how people are still more comfortable working from home, and that likelihood this will carry on for some time. Do you think that will be the case?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, working from home is much more convenient. And I'll give you my personal example that we were to go to the office on Monday, I think after 2.5 months of working from home. And I suddenly felt very uncomfortable. I thought working from home was so convenient because you could take calls right from 7 a.m. to the night. You can have your own flexibility. So I do think that even though the economy may open up or the lockdown will be opening up, many people will continue to work from home. Very, very convenient. Yeah.
Yeah. So good morning, everyone. Those who just joined us, we have Mr. Bhavesh Shah here on live with us. So right now we are at 10:52 a.m. in the morning in Singapore. So we will be chatting and having this welcome till about 11 a.m. before we do the episode premiere. And after the episode premiere, that's when we actually have the live Q&A where you can log into YouTube, key in your questions in the chat before we carry on the conversation. So Bhavesh, let me just ask you, because we recorded the episode that we're going to premiere more than a month ago.
Yeah.
So what do you think has anything significantly changed from the medical industry perspective?
I think when we recorded, I think it was beginning of the crisis, I
Yeah.
would say. And obviously in between the last 1.5, 2 months, people, have been speaking about the vaccine and the drug and the impact on all industries, medical, including medical, etc. But I think in the last 4 to 5 weeks, people have suddenly realized that the cure may take a longer time than what people are thinking. But how do we live with the crisis on, with the virus on? And I do believe lots of countries have done it well, including Singapore, where they said, how do you ensure that with the right safe distance measures, life can still go on. On the medical device side, I think surgeries are coming back. Initially, in the month of April and even May, surgeries were down 80, 90%. Now you are seeing that they are back. In fact, China is almost back to 85% of their average surgeries because people are afraid to go to the hospital. If you have a surgery which is not life threatening, you could postpone it. But I think people are now generally going back. And even in the US, which is the worst impacted as we speak, surgeries are back almost 50%. So we do believe that things will be back in the next few months, where people try and figure a way out to solve the problem with finding a new way of solving the problem rather than solving the problem, because we know vaccine could be 6 months or 18 months. We don't know that. So, but I think people have started to realize that we can't just stop life just because of this issue.
Yeah, that's true. So I think in the episode, you also mentioned that the way you will be contacting the customers, the way you'll be educating your customers in terms of your products would change significantly. Since we still have about 5 minutes, maybe would you care to share as to how do you see in terms of actually contacting, educating, and servicing your customers would change in the future?
Yeah, obviously, I think the virtual medium will be a big will play a big part as we look at the future. But Janet, I think the medical industry has prided itself also on the one-on-one contact. So even if it's virtual, it's more one-on-one rather than having a huge Zoom call where everybody joins in. It becomes slightly impersonal. Uh, I do believe that one-on-one contact, understanding the customer needs, trying to, for the medical industry, sales reps or marketing people, to trying to ensure that they are understanding the issue with the customer is very important. So the relationship still will continue. The medium could go to virtualish, but again, there I would say it depends on the market. Maybe less so in Japan, but more so maybe in a few markets like Korea. So we'll have to take it market by market. But I think virtualization has a big role to play in the future. At a minimum, 20, 30, 40%, 20 to 40% of all the meetings can be converted from face to face to virtualization.
Right. And the other thing would be, I think one of the things about at least I remember when we were in Johnson and Johnson, I'm sure it's still being done right now, is in terms of gathering and training and development of the employees, used to be something that is quite crucial and was done quite a lot face to face. Do you think this will change, at least from the medical industry or from your company's standpoint?
Yes, to some extent it will. Training on the web obviously is very convenient, but it also has a lot of disadvantages. Janet, I
Yeah.
think mind. And I was looking at a very good article. It was called Zoom fatigue. Somebody I think Supratim forwarded it to me, saying that how can so you have so many calls during the whole day. If you're looking at the whole day in 12 hours, you're just sitting in front of the screen and speaking to or actually going through the Zoom calls, it will fatigue you. Your mind starts to wander. You don't have the compulsion to pay attention, and you have the same background. Everybody is. There are. I think there are pros and cons. I still believe that there is certainly a place for live contact. I think I was talking to somebody and he told me that a human being is a social animal. You just can't take away the social contact. So I agree that some of it will become virtual because it's also convenient. But I think some content will have to remain live. Face-to-face interaction hopefully remains. But as you would also know, forget us where we are training people. All the colleges in the US, their first semester will be done virtually. So students don't need to be there physically. So a lot of even big colleges are doing the same thing. Let's see. I don't know for sure. As I said, it has a place, but I don't know how far it will go.
Right, right. Thanks. So, welcome to anyone who just joined us actually on this live Q&A. Currently, we are at 10:58, so we're actually chatting with Mr. Bhavesh Shah. Mr. Bhavesh Shah is originally from India, so right now he's based in Singapore, and he's actually the head of new business development and finance of the emerging global markets of Convertech Group. So we are very honored to have him on the platform with us, sharing his insights and views. And at 11 a.m., we will be preparing the episode that we recorded actually right at the beginning of the crisis. His thoughts, his experience, and the communication that came about right at the beginning. So after the episode premiere, we will carry on the conversation with Bhavesh on what are the company's plans, where he sees the industry going, and to share his experience and insights on how we can get through these crises together. So, Bhavesh, thank you so much again for coming on board, not only to spend time to record with me earlier on, but on this Saturday morning to share your experience and insights as well.
Thanks, Janet, for the invite.
No problem. So what we'll do is I will actually hide you for a little moment, Bhavesh, and then I'll bring on the episode so that we can share and start at 11 a.m., which is exactly right now. Thank you. Hi. Welcome to the Leadership During Crisis Online Summit series. Thank you for taking your time to watch these episodes. Please remember to subscribe at our YouTube channel, follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook under Leadership During Crisis.
That's the COVID-19. It's dramatically impacted not only the commercial side, it impacted the interactions, it's impacted the patient service models, it's impacted the way we service a customer. It's a big impact to any industry. across all the domains as of now. Yeah.
So, what are some of the key financial considerations a business should be looking at during a crisis like this?
I think it's important that we immediately don't jump to the financial considerations. I think each business obviously has to have that paramount. But before we even come to the financial consideration, we need to keep a few areas. For example, the safety of our employees is of more importance than coming to the financial safety. The second importance are our customers getting the products in spite of all the issues that they have to grapple with. I think it's important for us to ensure that the customers are getting our products, are getting the education that they need to be able to use our products in a seamless manner. So I think this would be probably more important than financial considerations. But I would just say that should be the first consideration. And then when you come to the financial consideration, obviously we need to look at it from across the value chain, starting
Mhm.
with the supply chain. What are the issues as it relates to supply chain, whether it's manufacturing, whether it's transportation, whether it's increased cost due to sourcing. I think at this point of time, more than any ever before, you look at liquidity.
Mhm.
So whether your customers are able to pay you on time, since we deal a lot with the government hospitals, whether the government hospitals are facing any crunches in cash because they are diverting a lot of their resources to fight this issue. So what are the issues that we face from a payment and cash flow issues? And last but not the least would be the issue relating to the overall profitability, whether there are things that we need to start doing differently. I was listening to a video from the Marriott CEO. He was basically communicating how the hotel industry has gone down by between 75 to 96%, and they're closing floors, they're closing spending, etc. And we'll have to start thinking about that. But as I said, for a medical device company, first with the employees and customers, and then would come the other things.
So, from your perspective, if let's say someone who's not really from the medical device industry, especially the SMEs, how can one up their ability to manage their cash flow in such critical times if they don't have a strong financial backing from the head office?
I think just to monitor and ensure that we understand, because cash flow, it doesn't come as a first issue. Many of us, when we look at the business, we probably look at the top line and the
Mhm.
P&L. No, cash is important. Doesn't jump immediately as the number one indicator. I think in times of these uncertainties, it's very important that we try and bring cash flow as the first thing we should look at.
Mhm.
Between a customer who pays you on time at a lower price versus a customer who will not be able to pay, I think try to make cash flow as a key KPI in all the conversations with all your business partners. Try to ensure that who we supply to have the ability to pay you back. Whether we like it or not, Janet, many of our suppliers or distributors may go out of business. I think the issue is so deep that we'll come to know in the next 3 to 4 months that many of our partners will go out of business. And I think when they go out of business, it's important for us to understand we also have a risk because we have not only business dealings, but we also lose cash immediately. That's what the amount they were supposed to pay back.
Do you foresee that this situation would last all the way to the end of the year, or it's something that may be resolved, at least for this part of the world, within the next couple of months?
Well, I'm not an expert. Obviously, you kind of get a lot of opinion. But even if I were to say, Janet, very realistically, even if today, let's say in Asia Pac, the disease has been cured or eliminated, it will take us 6 more months to get back to normal. So we just need to keep in mind that just because things are done, because business models have changed, customers have moved on, many other things have happened, it may not just be possible to come back to the near normal next day. You look at one example, I think all airlines around the world have basically closed down. There's not even a single flight
Yeah.
operating. I think for them to come back to normal will take 3 years, 5 years, I don't know.
Mm.
Because you can imagine that even tomorrow we start, many of the people will just think it's safe to fly, whether I need to fly, whether I can do it as we are talking. You don't need to come and see me, or I don't need to come and see you, whether this is a better option. So the business models will change. Things that were done earlier may not be the things that will be done in the future. So again, if I look at my industry, we're now doing digital education. We're trying to supply through e-commerce websites. You do digital training. You do Zoom meetings. You do Zoom web conferences. You do Zoom education to the patient. So whether this will stick on, I don't know, but I do think some of it will, and it may be the new norm. So when you say, will you come back to the normal? I would say it all depends. There may be things that will never come back to how we were doing business before COVID-19.
When the business comes back to a new norm, the business model will totally be changed. Now, what can
Yep.
a business do at the current moment besides taking care of employees, besides not panicking? What would be the crucial steps to take in order for you to prepare yourself, either from a financial perspective, to turn around the situation, or to actually prepare yourselves for 6 months down the road?
I think I would still go by the same order. First is obviously ensuring that we are not risking any of the things that I mentioned. Employees, customers, and then come to the financial profitability. As you look at what can we prepare now, I think one of the areas that we want to focus on is, are we using this time not only to do the business in a normal course to the extent possible, obviously through e-commerce, but can we use this time more as a time that we can sharpen our skills ourselves? So can we, train our employees through web meetings? Can we explore what are the issues and have forums or discussion panels, which we probably don't do it when everybody is kind of rushing. I think on the financial side, what we need to absolutely do is ensure that you're looking at everything minutely. Anything that doesn't impact customer, that doesn't impact an employee to the extent possible.
Well, we have not really actually come to the end of COVID-19 because it's really right at the beginning only, but crisis has happened all these while. So can you share maybe some of your experiences where you had overcome a crisis? What were the lessons that you learned, and how do we crisis-proof ourselves, for example?
I think both commercially and personally. I think the learnings is also personally, correct? There's a lot of personal learnings also. Resilience is one of the important things that you have to have yourself, and you also need to inculcate that in your function, department, or company to a great extent. So I think having that feeling of resilience, that we will bounce back, and we will do whatever is required to ensure that we just don't give up and are ready to bounce back when things get better. So that would be my first insight, saying that, are we resilient enough, or are we so pessimistic that things will never improve and we are ready to pack our bags and go home? I think that also, it's a similar feature, Janet, when we ourselves encounter some personal failure. Is it the end of the road, or can we get back? I think the second is creating that ray of hope, engaging with your employees, training them, retraining them, reskilling them, that this is not the end of the road. We do believe this crisis will tide over, and we expect you to be much better than what you were pre the crisis, okay? Because the challenges will be new and resources will be fewer than what you had just because things have changed. And I think that's where a leader can play an enormous role to, motivate the team at this juncture than ever before, that we have a bigger battle to fight. The tools have changed, the equipments have changed, but the battle probably is much bigger than we ever had. You need to rally them, saying that this is what we'll absolutely do. There is nothing that stops us from doing it.
Hi, Bhavesh.
Hi, Janet. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. So I think that was about a month ago. I'm not sure whether you could remember a lot of the conversation that we had.
Yeah, I definitely remember.
So now, I think one of them was the impact that you will have actually on the smaller companies as well as the distributors and all those. Right now, it's about more than a month after the recording. What have you observed thus far?
For the smaller companies, okay. For the smaller companies, the impact has been I guess, bigger than expected. I think they are probably now third or fourth month without some of them obviously, even if I think some industries have been heavily impacted, if you look at restaurants and etc. But even if you look at the healthcare, many of our lucrative portfolios or businesses have gone down. Uh, like even if you took it a hospital, small hospital, they used to earn a lot of money through some elective surgeries, and that has kind of dipped. Because a lot of patients are now patient money is being diverted towards COVID-19. So I think for the smaller businesses, the issue is whether and it's an honest thing to say that whether they'll survive and what are the options that they have in case they need to relook at their current model of business is closed down or think of a very different future. That's a very honest statement. I think the bigger businesses obviously are trying to manage it in a way they can, but the smaller businesses, I do agree, things are really very tough as we speak now.
Right. So, for those who just joined us, we just actually finished premiering the episode recorded with Bhavesh a month ago. So, if you have questions, you can actually log in to the YouTube account, key in your questions in the chat box. If you're coming in from the desktop, the chat box will actually be towards the right-hand side of your screen. If you're coming into YouTube on mobile, then it will actually be at the bottom of the screen. So we will wait for you to ask the questions because I think usually there's a little bit of lag, and we'll carry on the conversation with Bhavesh here. So Bhavesh, the other thing I wanted to check would be, as a leader of a larger global organization, in terms of moving forward, what would be your 3 key steps that you would basically share or actually give to others in terms of the current focus to prepare ourselves for this current aftermath, I think, which from a financial standpoint can be a lot worse, and emotional standpoint can be quite a lot of upheaval as well?
It's a great question. I think it's probably a responsibility for all of us to ensure that in these times of uncertainty, people don't feel, as I was even telling in the conversation, don't feel that there is any ray of hope. So I think the first and foremost, I would say, is keep in touch with almost all your team. Try to do it as regularly as possible. And I think having casual conversation of how they're keeping, how is the family, etc., is something that I would encourage everyone to do. And sometimes even now, even if I reflect back, have I done it often? Maybe I can do it more than I am doing. So have that personal conversation along. So try and keep in touch and have that personal connect. Not that you should not do it when things are better, but you should do it more. I think that would be then second, I think ensure that there is a time devoted to reskilling and upskilling. I do believe the people who will survive are the people who can work on digital platforms. And I think as we as a company are trying to do many such initiatives where people can go and learn and retrain and reskill themselves. And last but not the least, if there are issues, I think on a personal side where there are people who are facing financial difficulties, etc., we could probably come together and try and help. So these would be my 3 things: stay close, reskill, and then try to ensure that people are, if they have personal issues, we try and go out and help them. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. We have a question coming in from Dr. Philip Mary. He says, your industry is clearly essential. What role does government have to keep you afloat if things do not recover?
So when you say government, if you're trying to talk about Singapore government, I think the Singapore government has gone out of the way to help all industries. But if you're looking at medical device industries, there are a lot of things that they have done. So one is they pay for part of our salary costs, so we don't have to immediately jump that what can we do to reduce our manpower cost. They've offset some rental costs. They are also trying to help us in training and other things. But I think the government will only be able to help us to the extent that the industry itself survives. I think medical device industry, as I see it, will survive for the long term. It is a key essential part of our healthcare management in any country. So if you're talking about maybe the restaurant business or the airline business, I may not be the expert to say whether it will survive or not. Hopefully they do. But the medical device industry, I don't believe it will not recover. It will be there. Yeah, it will continue to play a very significant role in healthcare, delivery of healthcare in any economy. But we also have I guess the responsibility to continue to reduce the cost of healthcare delivery, because people are looking to reduce their cost as a percentage of what they earn, and ensure that we continue to bring out innovation in everything that we do. So as it's more a responsibility, whether it's pre-COVID or post-COVID, that we continue that innovative delivery of products, because then we won't survive. It's not because of COVID.
Right. So, Bhavesh, the other thing is, I think in the conversation when we had during the episode premiere was there was some changes in terms of the delivery of the products to the hospital, and you were embarking on some e-commerce initiatives across the region. Could you share a bit more? What are the developments over there?
Yes, so I think many of, especially in China, if you look at it, many of our products are now being directly bought by the patients themselves. So if you go to any Amazon or Lazada or JD or Tmall, you will see that many of our products are listed. And I do believe the patient now has the ability and is also willing to interact directly with the company, which was not so maybe 5-10 years back. So we are certainly trying to encourage coming directly in touch with the patient. The patient can directly buy from us. As it relates to the hospitals have not been so, I would say, they still have that traditional model of buying. But on the patient front, we definitely have a lot more part of our business which is done online. The second is the patient education. So as we were talking earlier, there's the patient education. A person who uses an ostomy bag or who has a wound, does he need to come to a location to get trained? I think with the ability of the virtual platform, it's not required. So we are trying to do virtual patient education, virtual patient forums. So there are people who suffer from the same disease, and irrespective of the location or country, they form a forum and share what are the best practices. They can have a conversation with a healthcare provider. They can have a conversation with a patient who has recovered. And so that are the forums that we are trying to propagate in addition to the education. So those are the things that we are doing online as of now.
Yeah, thanks. So there's a question coming in from Mutu. He said, "Hi, Bhavesh. Thank you for sharing wonderful insights. Could you please share how the industry will evolve in terms of customer engagement programs," which you shared a little bit earlier on. Is there anything else you think that will evolve from what you have mentioned?
No, exactly. That's the exact point. I think the patient, depending on, so there is a quite a bit of dynamics here. So when we call customer, in our case, the customer is probably a patient, and you also need to look at the demographics of the patient. So, for example, we have a business where we have, our product is ostomy bags, and many of the patients are the not so young patients. They are kind of elderly, and they don't have that much, I guess, ability to work on Zoom or work on their mobile. Many of them don't even have smartphones. So what we need to do is not have a very generic reach to patients. So we have Zoom, we have Patient Connect, etc. We'll need to identify the demographics of the patient, the things that they like, they dislike, and then create something that they can relate to. Because it's not one size fits all. And that also, Janet, you were asking me whether everything will go virtual. I think it will be very difficult, and we should probably, try not to make a general solution for everybody in the world, saying that some patients in Japan may not move to e-commerce or a direct. They would like still that face to face. So it's very difficult, and I think I learned it in J&J, and it's very similar to even in Convatec that the currently for us, each and every patient is important. So I would look at it as that one patient at a time. So it's not that we want to even ignore a patient. We want to ensure that we reach out to each and every patient.
That's great. We have another question coming in from Sandeep. So Sandeep is asking, do you see relationship with patients, healthcare professionals evolving beyond making products available? In this case, building patient confidence in not delaying medically necessary elective procedures.
Hey, hi Sandeep. Hi, nice to see you. Yeah, but I completely agree, Sandeep. I think this is where most of the in fact, all the medical device companies will move towards. I think if you can talk to a broad spectrum of medical device companies, and they will say that they are not there to sell products. And I think I would encourage you to read our vision, the Convatec vision, which our CEO has laid out. And I think it clearly says that we are selling solutions and not products. And I think the moment you kind of step away from products, you realize that the whole patient journey is what you are responsible for, whether it's educating them, treating them, and then after treatment, following the right protocols in terms of recovery. The company is now taking ownership for end to end. It's just not selling products. So, Sandeep, you have hit the nail on the head. Even things like prevention, and sometimes people say, "Oh, why are you in prevention?" Because it kind of actually kills the business that you are trying to sell. But yeah, even preventing is a part of our business. So we are not in the business of selling products. We are, and in fact, all the companies are moving towards solution. And for those who have not looked at our vision, I would certainly encourage them to go to our website and look the new vision that our CEO has laid out.
Great. Thanks for your answer, Bhavesh. So we have another question coming in from QP Ng. He says, "Hi, Mr. Shah. Could you please share some insight on what are the important skills to be upgraded for us as individuals and people leaders during and after COVID-19?"
Thanks. I think depends on the function and the company that you are in. I do believe there are some skills that are required irrespective of. So I don't know which function you have, because I am from finance, so I hope to excuse myself if my answer is more finance or function specific, the support function. But I think one of the most important skills that I do believe each one of us needs to have is the ability to sell oneself, sell a story. So I kind of tell it as a storytelling skill. How do you frame your problem or your business case, or even when you're going for an interview? How do you sell yourself? So what type of message do you want the interviewer to take when after he or she finishes the interview with you? So I think that would be I think the biggest skill that each one of us need to have, the art of storytelling. How are we able to convince and influence people on anything? And I read a book sometime back where he says that people when people say that they are not salesmen, it's completely wrong. For everything we do, we are selling. Whether I am going for an interview, I'm trying to sell a business project, I am making a presentation on my business plan. Everything I do, I'm selling something to someone. And if I don't do it without the art of story selling, without the art of influencing and negotiating, that is where I'll probably not do a good job. There are a lot of other skills that you need to acquire now than ever before, and even before COVID. And I'll only give you a few examples which are impacting my function as we speak. I think the usage of advanced analytics is playing a big impact. Data and analytics, irrespective, I think it's more in most of the functions. So be aware. Try to learn if you are young. Try to do a course on virtually if possible. But the data analytics, visualization are the two areas that are impacting our industry. There are many other things like robotics, artificial intelligence will continue to evolve. And one example, again, before I end, just to try and tell a story, because I spoke about it. I said I'll end it with a story. I think if you look at 30, 40 years back, because people say, oh, automation is now evolved, taking a percentage of our jobs. But automation has always been taking jobs. And people who survive are the people who understand how do you you move to the next level. So 30 years back, let's say you went to a US bank, you would go to a bank and there would be cashiers who would be dispensing cash. And all those cashiers, were replaced by ATMs. Then we had like 100,000 cashiers in the US 30 years back, and suddenly ATMs were seen everywhere, and all those cashiers disappeared. So what happened to those cashiers? Did they all lose their jobs? I don't think so. Many of them then evolved to the next. So if you go to a bank now, you see them sitting on the side, and they will call you for a understanding of your wealth, and they'll make your retirement plans, or they will help you with your tax planning or selling in a unit trust, etc. So all of them basically graduated from being cashiers to being wealth advisors. And that's a key question for all of us. Things will and technology will continue to disrupt us. And the question is whether we will be that wealth advisors or whether we will continue to fade away. So that would be my answer to that question.
Yeah, thank you, Bhavesh. I totally agree. So look at myself, for example. I'm actually a business marketing graduate. So, and in the past, I think we have the luxury of waiting for about a decade before there will be changes. But I had to go back to school to understand and study digital marketing, study social media marketing, study search engine marketing, and have to start engaging on these platforms like this. So if you look at it from what Bhavesh say as a story building, so then there is actually a path. So the skills that you pick up will then be what actually will help you build your skill set so that you can complete and actually build the story from, if you're looking at from a the banking perspective, from a banking officer to a financial advisor. So the path that you choose and the story that you want to tell about yourself will help you determine the kind of skill sets and training that you should take in order to upgrade yourself. So we have another question actually again from Dr. Philip Mary. He's asking, what does resilience mean to you and how do you teach these to staff?
Thanks, doctor. I think resilience is very personal to me. I went through a very bad patch and health-wise, and then I recovered. And I am fortunate to have a lot of people that I work for, including my current boss, who have taught resilience irrespective of the situation, trying to always encourage that what can we do. It's understandable that things are what they are, and I would say I personally feel that uh, we will get hit every day with something or the other, and it's not the what how bad we got hit that is important, but how we get up from what we are hit is important. Every day in the morning, you probably look forward to what can you do differently in irrespective of the situation. I wouldn't be surprised that in every day, I as a because now you have so many geographies and businesses that you are probably supporting. You'll probably get some amount of negative news, or even in say if it's a bad day, you'll probably get hit with a lot of issues and queries. And the question for me always is, how do we absorb it? Have some sense of don't overreact, don't try to jump to a solution, but then try and calmly say that what can you do? Situation is what it is. I don't think there are many things that we cannot help. I think one of the things that I read a quote, doctor, a few weeks back, and I can't recollect the full quote, but it said something like this: there are three things. I think he said, the quote said, it says there are things that you can control, there are things that you cannot control, and there was a third element I forgot, but I loved that quote. And he said that a person who then focuses on things that they cannot control for how they live their life is going to be the worst failure. Try and focus on what we can control, what we can do every day. Now, trying to teach this to staff is something that probably I have not done a good job. I have not talked to people much, and maybe I should do it more and more. And something that I would probably take it as something that I need to do rather than talking about it. But let me think about it. How do I? This is a message for me that how do I ensure that whatever the things that I go through in terms of resilience, how I am able to convey that to also my staff who may be personally going through also some issues which I may not be aware of. Yeah.
Right. So there's another question that came up. So Bhavesh, I hope you're okay. We're already at 11:32,
Yeah,
so
sure.
we'll just carry on with the questions as they come along. So Saga asks, currently sales reps engage in operating rooms to sell medical devices. Do you think it will be possible that the same engagement will be done virtually in the future?
Hey, hi Sagar. Good to see you here. I agree. I think Sagar, that would happen. In fact, you are seeing that robotics is going to uh, take over not only sales reps job but even doctors job. So yeah, the doctors are also maybe threatened by how robotics will be taking over. But I do see a slight difference. So what I would see is, let's say you're talking of 2020, 2030, sorry, 2030, and robotics not only take over sales rep job in the operating room, but even the doctor's job is done by a robot. But what you could have, I can visualize a scenario where the sales rep, a doctor sit behind the screens and they are interacting on what can be done differently depending on the patient, what can be done differently by the robot. So as I was talking about I think Janet was also alluding to the wealth manager's case in the banking industry. The medical sales rep will still play a very important role, but may not be necessarily he or she will need to be in the operating room. He or she could be thousands of miles away and still be trying to guide the doctor or the robot for solving that issue.
Yeah, yeah. So Saga, actually, I just interviewed somebody who's also in the medical industry, but more from the dentist industry. So he was sharing actually that he is currently actually doing a lot of the demos and has been doing demos even before COVID-19 because China was actually a long distance, most of the time virtually. He says sometimes it's actually easier to do the product demos online virtually than in person. So it's probably what we call, from an education perspective, a blended approach. I think some parts of it will be virtual, some parts of it will still have to be a one-to-one because so we are social animals, right? So
Exactly.
yeah. So right now, Bhavesh, what I'll do is I'll just hide you for a little while, share with them, the audience, how they can actually watch the episodes after this, as well as how they can contact you and ask more questions if they need to later on. So I'll just hide you for a little while.
Sure.
Similar to all the other episodes, if you would like to know more about all the other episodes in the Leadership During Crisis Summit series, you can go to effectiveagentleadership.com, click on the Leadership During Crisis page, and this page will lead you to all the various different episodes that are in this series. So right now, we are currently at episode 16. We will have a total of 30 episodes, and starting from today, instead of premiering every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we are premiering every Saturday, 2 to 3 episodes depending on the availability of our guests. So when you scroll down and see all the various episodes, you'll see Bhavesh episode, and then when you click on the Watch Now tab, you will see basically you will get straight into his page where there are 2 videos. One is the previously recorded video, and the one in the blue button below is actually on this live episode. Once it's edited, you will be updated over there, and you can read more about Bhavesh, his background, as well as how his company's website where you can contact him. Now, as I mentioned earlier on, because there are a total of 30 episodes, to make it easier, we categorize the episodes into overcoming personal crisis, whether it's emotional or business. We are also classifying it into the various different business categories. So you can then go to learning.corporatetrainerconnect.com. And then here you will see various courses, webinars on the different categories, including leadership, emotional resilience and motivation and communication, all the way to the Leadership During Crisis Summit series. When you click on it, it's still free. And then you have access to all the various episodes. So I'm coming back to Bhavesh right now. So Bhavesh, it seems there's quite a lot of interest. So if you're okay, I'm going to ask some more questions, okay?
Sure, Janet, no problem.
Yeah. So Sahil is asking, thank you, Bhavesh. How do we ensure that the digital skills required for the post-COVID are widely embedded in particular small and medium enterprise?
Okay, hi, Sahil. Yeah, I think that's a tough one. But I I do believe today than ever before. Like if when I was young, and I would want to learn anything on digital, etc., I would probably be paying in multiples of what I would have earned at that point of time, and need to find out the time, the location of the education institute. I remember the first digital course I learned. I had to travel 35 kilometers every day, go in a train to just get exposed to learn Excel and anything else. I think we are much more fortunate today. You can learn virtually. A lot of courses available today are free. There are like thousands and thousands of courses on Coursera and others. So I do believe the small and medium enterprises do have that advantage that we did not have earlier. So it's all about the mindset. The second thing, it's all about I think when you talk about small and medium, I think they are driven by the owner's mindset. I think to a great extent, if the owner wants to do it, he or she will be able to change. And that's where the key issue lies, whether the owner, because most of these companies are kind of owned by a few individuals, whether the owner actually has the mindset made up to make the change. Honestly, there is a lot of support, Sahil, right from the institutions where as I said, the programs are not very expensive. The government, so Singapore government, as you could know, actually gives you, because now whenever I go to a grocery store, none of them accept cash. You have to put your cash in the machine, and it kind of dispenses the coins and the note. And there are a lot of other things, like in restaurants, they have the iPad. You put in your. These are all sponsored, by the way, by the Singapore government. Just in case we did not know, they give a grant to every small and medium enterprise to try and do digitally things that they were earlier doing manually. But finally, I think it's all about the owner of the company and how he or she wants to make that move towards being more digital. The last thing I would say is just ensure that digital doesn't mean that we ignore the customer. I think that would be my only caution. Customer in our case is a patient, but customer should be at the forefront or at the center of everything we do. So if I am my customer, I'm just saying hypothetically, so don't take it in any way. But if my company deals with a 80-year-old, my customer is an 80-year-old individual who never uses the smartphone or the internet, then I need to think what are the digital tools that I will deploy. So just ensure that whatever you do, don't forget the customer. That's the only thing we should remember, and that's the reason we are here. Yeah.
Yeah. So just to add on a little as well, I think it's even easier at times for the small and medium enterprise, because I think when I first started my own business, the kind of digital tools that are available is a lot more complicated and more difficult to utilize. Nowadays, whatever that is there is actually very easy. Some of it are premium models that you don't have to pay. But like what Bhavesh said, there are two things. One is whether the business owner wants to survive. And if they want to survive, the customer will be right in their focus. So what is then, from the business owner standpoint, how is it you're going to reach your customer? So you will have no choice but to actually pick up all the skills, all the tools and the methodologies to reach your customers and influence them and sell to them in order for you to survive. And then naturally you'll be embedded, because for the mode of survival, you have to start with survival to thrive. So if you have to do that and you have to pick up digital skills, then the entire organization will have no choice but to do it, because if not, then the employees, including the business owner, will go out of business basically. So that's what I would like to share. And we have Dr. Philip Mary saying that it has been a great session dealing with business and people issues. And he says, thank you, Bhavesh, for your time and sharing.
Thanks. Great opportunity. And just to add to your last point, Janet,
Yes.
the issues and first of all, thanks, doctor, for attending this. But to Sahil's question, I do believe the big advantage that small and medium enterprises have versus big companies is if the owner kind of wants to make that change, it's so easy to make the change. You don't have to convince 3,000 people, make 20 PowerPoints, trying to organize the, concurrence or acceptance of the tool. Uh, it's very easy. You try to do it in a big company, there will be questions about tools, the methodology, who will handle it, etc., etc. So there is a huge advantage also that the smaller and the medium scale companies can do it much faster, quicker, and than the bigger companies. Yeah. So I forgot to mention that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, the experience when I was working in a bigger corporation and where I am right now, I think in terms of split of implementation, once your mindset, which is the most crucial of whole thing, is there, then nothing is in the way to
Yeah.
do what you're required to do. So once again, I'd like to thank Bhavesh for
Thank you.
spending your Saturday morning with us and sharing your experience and insights.
Thanks.
So no problem. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.